Hi, everyone. This is Barbara Bishop, and I can't believe I'm speaking to you here at the end of April, and that we really just have just a few more days left of school, essentially. I hope that all of your testing went well, and I hope each of you are doing well. I had promised that I would make a short little recording that would wrap up our day 4 better than I was able to in person. And I'm sorry again that I was sick that day. Here's a few slides just to help us remember what we accomplished during that day, and also to prompt you perhaps to ask any questions that you need to in order to put a great big check mark and a bright red bow on the top of your LDC initiative for the year. So we'll work through this very short PowerPoint. Just a reminder that to take us back to that day when we had our day 4 professional learning, our intent for that day for our second module was to build upon the good work that had already happened in first semester with your development and implementation of your very first LDC module. And we wanted this one to maintain all of the same great components that your first one had, and to maintain the same purpose of building literacy in your content area. But we wanted to add as a means of continuous improvement, just an additional step. And so our additional step was to explore how we might incorporate differentiation into the LDC module, and to do so by varying the reading purpose through tiered writing prompts. Fancy way of saying that some of your kids would be writing one prompt and some of your kids would be writing another. It may be that you chose for the students to read 2 different passages, one perhaps of greater text complexity, or you could have differentiated by varying the reading purpose on the same text. So regardless of how many different texts you used, whether it was multiple or everybody's reading the same thing, the difference was that the students would have or that there would be a classroom option for differentiating. And we focused on differentiating up, and we talked about having your typical unexpected on target writing prompts, and then another one with increased complexity for the capable learner. This work for the capable learner was an alternative rather than an additional. So the students would not be writing 2 prompts, but instead would be writing the one that was most appropriate for them, depending on how you grouped them with your flexible grouping. Flexible is the term that we used just to remind ourselves that along the way, students may move in and out of these groups. This was not intended to be, for the kid who had been stamped gifted on the forehead by some kind of, official designation, but rather someone whom you deemed ready for that advanced assignment based on some kind of pretest or observation or student work analysis that you had done at that time. So essentially, you were in your second module implementing an LDC that had multiple tiers. You might have gone for many, many tiers, or you might have just stuck with 2, and 2 is very good as well because it still accomplishes the differentiation. Here's a reminder that the components of the LDC module are quite simply to identify the task, identify the skills, identify what additional instruction, direct instruction you want to provide for all students, or in this case for your different tiered of students, tiered groups, and then to consider what results you would want for them, whether everyone was going to have the same rubric or whether or not you were going to decide to alter the given rubric in some way for the gifted learner. And we also talked a little bit about text complexity and just gave ourselves a reminder that when we have anything in front of us and we are trying to determine whether it is quote unquote complex, there are a lot of things that we can consider. We can look quantitatively at any sort of Lexile number that somebody has posted with it, or we could look at all the qualitative aspects of that text, including the vocabulary and whether or not it's lengthy and whether or not it's written with the intent to be direct, or whether it's trying to be more cryptic than that, or whether or not it requires additional historical or scientific information in order to even get going with it, etc. But we talked about the reader and the task and just gave ourselves a little reminder that sometimes to increase complexity of the assignment, you just really need to increase the task. And that's why we talked about having a different reading purpose for an advanced or capable group of learners, or in single learner if you only have one. And here was our text complexity chart that we talked about how it is useful in the sense of giving us a range, an expectation and range, but that we are not trying to live or die by these numbers, and that this is just a range for our reference. And then we talked a little bit about, well, how do you quickly and effectively come up with alternative writing prompts or task rather for a gifted learner. What's a quick way to do so? And we talked about these content imperatives, questions you might ask about the origin of the content or the article, the contribution that the article might have made, how this article or this content converges or comes together from previous information, how it might be parallel, so in some way similar, or make a connection to previous learning, perhaps from a previous unit, or to have the students identify the dilemma, the inherent argument, or the paradox, as it's called here, of the opposing ideas. These are just reminders to us that we have a lot of different options at our disposal when we are considering what that tiered and second additional prompt might be. Okay, Truman, I'm recording here, honey. And then we have the depth and complexity icon chart that was just a good reminder that sometimes in order to quickly ramp up the advanced nature of the prompt, we could simply ask for more details or an identification of pattern, or we could have them talk about the language and the terminology, or look for unanswered questions, etc. So again, these were all just guides for us. And really, the main point of my short talk here is just to give you this checklist that we really just didn't get to on day 4 because we had left early. So here is a checklist for you. Have you designed your module to include at least an additional reading purpose and therefore writing prompt for a tiered group? And in other words, does it have at least 2 tiers for differentiation? Did you get the module typed into the account at coretools.ldc.org? Did you add me as a collaborator so that I might be able to do the check off for the professional learning and also provide some feedback? Have you had a chance to implement this in your classroom? Which, remember, implementation can really range from simply providing the reading and providing the prompt and collecting the responses, or it can be much more integrated with some strategic teaching moments and activities that you have worked in. It just depends on how much time you had. And then also the student work samples. We talked about on the student work samples this time around to only have instead of 3 from each range of, met expectation, did not meet expectation, exceeded, etc., that this time we might just simply choose at least one from one writing prompt and one from another. So in other words, if you did a 3-leveled, 3-tiered assignment, and therefore had 3 different writing prompts, then you would have 3 student work samples. But if you opted to just go with the regular classroom on target writing assignment and then the additional enhanced version with some of those ideas that we just presented, then you would just be uploading 2. And then here, this last step is just a reminder that I will need for you to let me know when you are finished. And when you are finished, I will go in, I'll provide some feedback. I will share your name at your school and system level as someone who has successfully completed the LDC initiative and therefore ready for the PLU and all the praise and thanks that goes with it. But this is our checklist. We had hoped that we would accomplish this by the end of the year, but we are not on some hard and fast deadline. So if you, let's say you have time to implement it, but you don't have time to get it all finished into the core tools, or you haven't yet uploaded your student work samples and it's the last day of school, that's not a problem. The system level folks who have you as part of this initiative know that second semester was our time to create and implement our module, and some of you might be finished with all these steps now, but some of you might need a little bit of the last few days of school or even the first few days of summer to finish, and that's fine. If any of this short talk has you confused, or if I touched upon something you'd like to hear more about, or if you have a special circumstance and you just want to describe it to see how we can be flexible with this for your circumstance, then please just email me and let me know. And thanks again. You will be receiving, when you're all finished, a link to a survey. And this is a West Georgia RESA survey. And we'd really like your feedback about the overall LDC initiative. And, we were given the initiative, and it has a great deal of structure that does support the work and does help us through it. But there are small ways that we might personalize or address needs in the LDC training over the course of the year. So we'd like to hear your ideas about that. So again, let me know if you need anything. Thanks, and have a great last few days of school.